It's time for the Creator Town Hall here on Studio Live today. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to spring. That's relevant. We're going to talk about why in a moment. It is September here now, so I hope you are all doing well. We've got a very special guest for you here today. He is a multi-talented kind of dude. He's a studio owner. He's a home recording guru. He's a podcaster. He wears so many hats. I'm going to let him tell you about all of that and introduce himself. Please welcome back to Studio Live today, the one, the only, Mr. Lidge Shaw. How you doing, Lidge?
Hello, Cleveland. Just trying to find the stage. Which way to the stage?
I gave you the backstage pass, and I hope you didn't get lost in the back there. So I don't think I did you justice. YouTuber, podcaster, music educator, recording guru, studio owner. What did I miss? What other bows do you wear, mate?
Single dad, saver of home studios in Nashville, Tennessee, and Music City.
Yes.
That one gets a little bit of credit.
Very cool. A lot of things going on in your world, and look, it's amazing to have you back here on the show. We're going to talk about a lot of things. You've got a new song that you've just released. You've got a lot of things happening in your world. You've just been at NAMM, which we've been chatting about pre-show. So there's so much going on. But I'll let you do like the elevator pitch, mate. For folks who maybe don't know you and know what you do here on the World Wide Web, what's the Lidge Shaw story?
Okay, so first of all, can you hear me? I think I had my mic muted a moment ago.
Oh, you're coming through loud and clear now. So
Okay,
the folks who are here live will, I'm sure, let us know if there's any issues. But sounding buttery smooth, my friend.
All right, cool. Yeah. Well, so I'm here in East Nashville. Howdy, everybody. Good to see everybody jumping in on the chats there. I'm in East Nashville in Music City in the USA, on the other side of the globe, really, at the moment, right? I think we're about 12 hours apart, too.
It almost exactly that. Yeah, I'm having my morning coffee and Lidge is winding down for the day. So that's how we're rolling.
Although I just had coffee too. And as you said, I have a podcast called Recording Studio Rockstars, which you can check out, where I interview music producers, engineers, songwriters, musicians, and talk about making records in the studio so that, you can have a chance to learn all kinds of great stuff and make great records yourself. I have a YouTube channel that goes with that. I'm joining you right now from my studio called the Toy Box Studio that just got a makeover the past couple of years. So that's why it looks a little bit like a spaceship in the background.
Oh, it's looking cool. It is looking a bit futuristic, I must admit. Last time I saw your studio, had a lot more stuff going on there. It looks like you're streamlining a few things there, Lidge, including, for those that are looking at this guy going, hang on, isn't Lidge Shaw a dude with like a huge beard and lots of hair going on? Every time I see you, my friend, less hair. You've really just simplified, going the simplified look as well for the studio and for yourself. I love it.
Yeah, so thank you. So actually, 2015 is when I started growing a beard, and basically I went down to do my Bonnaroo hay bale studio, which was a thing I did for 15 years, where we'd take a recording studio to a giant music festival south of Nashville and record a bunch of bands. And I came back, felt I was a little under the weather, so I just didn't shave for a few days, for a week, and started sprouting a beard. I was like, yeah, that looks kind of cool. Maybe I'll keep it. Simultaneously that summer, I got a slap down by the city of Nashville for running a home studio and working from my home studio here in my house. And that started a long journey, which is actually still going on. It's just still trying to wrap up. But I was essentially shut down by the city of Nashville for trying to operate a home studio commercially and work from home. Yeah. And so I decided to fight back against that, which I've been doing for 7 years now. And when I did that, I said, I'm going to grow this beard out and I'm not going to shave it off until I win this thing. And so I gradually, as we started to win these different levels of this fight against the city, I started to shave it back. And then finally, can't quite see it. It's in the kitchen right now, but I finally was able to get a permit from the city 7 years later to work in my home studio. And I was like, all right, now I'm going to shave it all off. So that's kind of the beard story there.
I love it. So it has a message. I was like, oh, I was hoping it wasn't just some random thing, and it's like, no, it has a story. So, yeah, for those that don't know that, that was quite an epic ordeal, and I tried to follow along because it seemed like you had some sort of smaller victories along the way, and then you say sort of still ongoing. So I guess you can operate now. Is that the latest on this one? And is it just insane that in the city of Nashville that someone can't have a home studio business? Isn't that like the absolute ironic
I
twist?
think we should let the viewers tell us what they think of it, because most people say that's nuts that you can't make music in Music City. So, but
Oh, it's
long story short, I filed a lawsuit against the city to defend my right to do it. Along came a new bill in the Metro Council where they were trying to legalize home businesses, and I got behind that and pushed it through and passed it in 2020, and so that allowed me to get a permit. But it was still with all these limitations, so we're still keeping this lawsuit going, and that took us to the Tennessee Supreme Court, and now we're going back to the lower courts and on. But we're winning.
yeah. Well, that's it. Oh, it is amazing that it needs folks like you. I remember at the very start, like right at the start, I bought a Save Our Home Studios T-shirt and wore that with pride. And people would be like, "What are you talking about? What's that about?" Like, well, let me tell you a story about what's going down in Nashville. So
Yeah,
various random strangers in Adelaide were getting educated on this stuff at the
I
same
love it.
time, which
I
is
love it.
cool. So we got a bunch of topics we're going to go through today. As we mentioned, the main topic here is songwriting and recording yourself as a songwriter, because with all the hats that you wear there, Lidge, you've recorded a lot of other people. You've recorded in your studio, you've recorded remotely at Bonnaroo, you've recorded a lot of people over a lot of time. And now you're recording yourself as a songwriter as well. And I think for most people in this crowd, it's kind of the flip side. We do the reverse around here. I think most people watching this, probably 99% of the time, you're recording yourself, and then occasionally you might record other people. So it'll be an interesting view and introspection to see, what's the difference and some of those things. But let's pause quickly and say g'day, because we do have some folks that are here live. So let's shout out hello to Jaffa Pig, g'day Wilson Todd, got Mr. Brad Example here, Stephen Hayden. Yeah, what a story!
Yeah.
I know. I'm sure Lidge could talk for 4 or 5 hours about the story that goes down there. Tom Caraher music. Hello to our moderator Thomas Christ. Princess LDG. Yeah, lawsuit. Lidge had to suit up. That must be fun. We were talking about the fact that we get to wear our own branded T-shirts as like our workwear, and having to suit up.
Yeah,
and
I
face
wasn't.
it.
I didn't get to wear this into the courtroom, unfortunately.
That would have been cool. That would have been totally cool. You should have just brought
But
a
I did.
band
I
with you.
did wear my Save Home Studios T-shirt in front of the Metro Council when I got up in front of them to like do a whole presentation and
That
speak
is
about
very
it.
cool. Hello, Metalhead Hippie. Hello to you. Hello, Jabberwocky Bass. Thanks for dropping on by. Electric Owl Works.
Oh
And
yeah, Chaz.
the Lily Pilly. Yeah, see, this is the thing. I got my crew here, and then there's some unfamiliar names who I'm assuming are from the world of home recording studio rock stars. Which, by the way, 360 plus episodes, I think now, Lidge. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, I
That's
actually I probably have to
insane.
go look myself, but yeah, we're definitely around 360 now, and I'm just about to schedule a whole bunch of new interviews for the fall, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there you go, 364. So, and you've spoken to everyone. You've spoken to, like Grammy nominated and Grammy award winning producers and engineers and people that run studios and people that record and people that mix and master. And yeah, there's so many very, very cool, very, very cool interviews over there. I think you even chatted to me at one point. So there you
Yes,
go. I
we
think
did. We did do an interview. Yeah, it was one of the
about
early ones.
episode. Yeah, that was way back when. So back in the day, and Lidge has been on this channel too as well. So
Well,
we've
that the list you were just showing there of recent interviews, what's really fun for me is I like to think of the podcast as like having a cover band. So
yeah.
I've got like Vance Powell on there, who's a well-known producer, mixer, engineer with lots of awards. And then right next to him on the right is Jay, who was the bass player in my band. So it's like
There you go.
when it's like being in a cover band where you're like you're gonna sneak in some originals once you got a full house. So that's what it's been like too. It's been really fun to like bring my friends on and
Oh,
talk about the stuff that we're all doing. Like everybody who's joining us here, we're
mm,
all, like you said, we're all people who are just, with home studios making
yeah.
music, and we love doing it. So
Absolutely, very cool. So yeah, definitely do go and check it out. It's called Recording Studio Rockstars. There's a link right there in the description, or you can go to your favorite podcast player of choice. Your no, iTunes doesn't even exist anymore. Apple Podcasts, whatever they've
Right.
branded
Right.
themselves, the Spotify's, all the places, wherever you get your podcast, go and check it out. Let's talk a little bit about recording then. So you've just released a song, and when we say just released, the video dropped today, or at least in the middle of the night. I didn't catch the live premiere because I
Yeah.
was snoozing, but in the middle of the night. It's called Spring. Spring's an amazing thing, and I've had it in my head all morning. Co-written with your daughter, so there's got to be a
Yeah.
story there that we're going to chat about as well. But what was the background of this? Because as someone that produces a heck of a lot of music and records a lot of music, I know that you sort of were just itching to get back in the studio yourself and start recording. So what was the background of this song coming about?
So I'm a single dad, and raised my daughter here. Her mom's here in Nashville too, so she'd be coming and going. And
Okay.
she would typically be with me on the weekends. And on Sunday night, it was, when kids are little, it's like, okay, it's shower night. You got to get ready for school tomorrow on Monday morning and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I got into the habit of trying to do something that she's very musical, and I was like, I want to play more music with her and do stuff together. So while she would be getting ready for school and taking a shower and stuff, and singing in the shower behind the shower curtain, I just take my guitar and bang out chords in the bathroom and everything, and hang out with her and just talk and stuff like that. And she would sing along in the shower, and then I would take my iPhone, my voice memo, and just set it on the windowsill and put it in record. So I was hammering out these chords, and all of a sudden I played this one little thing, and she goes, spring, spring is an amazing thing with the birds and the bees and the flowers. And I was like, whoa, that's like an amazing chorus lyric. So
Yeah.
luckily I had captured that on the voice memo app, and then I took that later down to the studio and kind of figured out what the chords were going to be and started to write a song around it. And I just sort of filled out the verse lyrics and arranged it, and recorded a demo of it. And then later decided to, step that up to the next level and record it in the studio.
Mm.
And that was a while ago. So she's twice as old as that now. She was
Yeah.
7 at the time. And like many of us, I just sat on that song, it was just sitting on a hard drive for a long time.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'd played for people and people really liked it. And they kept saying, this is a great song. This is a great song. You should do something with it. And so I realized that it was time, it was time to do it, put it out this year. And
Well,
so, kind of went through the process of mastering it and teaming up with, figuring out how to put it out. And we can talk about all that stuff, but essentially
yeah.
that's the backstory of it, was just writing it with my kid and realizing it was a great song and finishing it out.
Oh, it's very cool, and I must have preempted that because like capturing those song ideas is one of the topics I had down here. So we'll talk about the release process and the recording process in a moment because I know people are itching to know that, and I'm wondering if someone who's a producer goes into the studio, is it like when a doctor goes into surgery? It's like, oh no, you don't put that. You've got that mic set up wrong. No, I don't use that microphone. That's the compressor's set wrong. It must be fun if you're working with other engineers and they're like, oh no, it's Lynn Shaw. He's going to tell us what we're doing.
I didn't go into somebody else's studio. I did it myself here. So I didn't even have
Yeah.
another engineer,
Well,
which
there you go.
in a lot of ways, it makes it sometimes even harder, because
Yeah.
it's if you're used to being in a control room and getting a sound while somebody else is in another space and hearing the sound through the speakers and dialing it in, it's really
Yeah.
tricky to do it if you're the one playing the instrument.
Yeah. Which
You can't hear it at the same time. You have to have, it's just tricky. Like if you're doing a vocal, you got to have the compressor right next to you so that you can mess with the knobs, or you got to like do trial and error and then, get it right and then go out onto the mic and sing. And so it's quite an experience figuring all that out.
So there you were. So it was artist Lidge versus producer Lidge were having this internal battle. Then that's
Yeah.
probably the
Yeah.
same sort
Totally.
of thing. Very cool indeed. And yeah, in terms of capturing those song ideas, like living in the future here with your voice memos. That's the one thing I say to all songwriters is just capture everything. It's song timber at the moment that a lot of the community here are participating in. And I started my song idea yesterday by just going through my voice memos, and I happen to have one that I tagged song timber question mark. I'm like, oh, maybe this is an idea. earlier, and it was just one chord, one riff. And I'm like, oh, that's a pretty catchy hook. So let's
Yeah.
work through that. And yeah, it's amazing how you can have those little ideas that turn into full songs, and you can watch them grow like a flower in spring. And it was very cool that you released it on again the first day of spring here in Australia, which is the
Yep.
1st of September. So I know for the folks in the Northern Hemisphere, you're like, oh, spring brings an amazing thing. You're almost taunting them, saying, oh, you're about to go into fall and into winter, but you get that last little dose of spring. So in terms of the releasing, because I watched the video today, this is it here. I won't play the audio here. I'll get folks to go over and have a look, but really amazingly put together in terms of the lyric video. It looks great, sounds great. Like I said, the hook in this song is amazing, and it just works really well. And a heap of people have already watched it as well. So I know many people are saying, "Hey, I'm releasing songs. I'm getting stuff out there." What's the secret, Lynch? How did you get such a successful release to a brand new song?
Well, so first of all, the video, well, the first thing I did was get the song finished and master it, and we put it out on Spotify and released it on the first day of spring here in Nashville, so in the Northern Hemisphere.
Nice.
And that was just, that was the sensible thing to do for the timing of the song. It's a seasonal song. And I knew that I wanted to get a lot of eyeballs or earballs, on the song when we released it. So, my thinking was, because I've interviewed a lot of people or put music out, I think about what it's like to teach the studio stuff, and I've learned a lot about the process of trying to operate as a successful, business when you're teaching something, when you're creating something and helping people out. And then I've thought, well, how do you do that when it comes to music? What's the analogy to being an artist and you put your music out and you're solving a problem for people, for example. And I think maybe sometimes that's things like being a really good dance band. And so you create a really great live atmosphere where it's a great dance party, or maybe you're just a really great drinking band, and the pubs love to have you there, and people really spend a lot of money at the bar or something, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And in my case, I realized that with my podcast and having an audience of people who are like us, who all want to make their own music and put it out as well, I could take advantage of some of the connections that I had there. So I teamed up with Ian Shepherd, who has productionadvice.uk, and he teaches the home mastering masterclass. Really, really talented teacher and talented mastering engineer. And so he mastered the song for me, and then we got together and did a live stream where we showed what we were doing and everything. There you go. There's Ian right there.
That's him.
And so that was great. So that was a really effective way to sort of debut the song when it came out and get more listens on it initially. So, that's just taking advantage of a situation that I had and an opportunity. And I know that would be different for everybody, but I think that when you stop for a moment and you think about, how you want to get your music out there, you realize that there's something that you have that's unique to you. Maybe you've got a large family, maybe you got a lot of friends, maybe there's a local scene, maybe you're just connected to people on the internet, maybe you're just really good at social media. I consider myself not really good at social media. my eyes melt if I have to look at the computer too much,
Oh yeah.
But so we did that, and then it was a good Spotify release on the beginning of spring here. And then I thought about it, and I had this lyric video idea. I knew I wanted to do that, and so I just thought, what's the easiest way to do that? And I went over to, I can't remember if I had seen somebody do a lyric video like this or not, but I just went to Fiverr.com.
Yeah.
So I went to, the site where you go and you find people who are skilled in different things, and you can hire somebody for $5, $10, $20. I think honestly, my video ended up being about $150 by the time I was done, because I had a lot of lyrics in it turns out. But it was great. And so I ended up finding somebody named Me Palash on there. And he does a lot of stuff, including lyric videos. I think I sent you the link to that, or you know what? The link is in the video, in my video.
Yeah.
So everybody who's watching this, I always refer to my audience as the rock stars, but I don't know how you do. I'll just call you the rock stars, because you're all rock stars too.
Spot on. Yep.
So if you want to find out more about how to go make a lyric video yourself, go to my video, and then in the description you'll find the link to Fiverr and to me Palacios over there. So that was
Very
great. So
cool.
I teamed up with him. He made a lyric video for it. It looked awesome. And then I was talking with you can interrupt me if I'm jumping around too much.
No, I want to hear. I want to hear the story. I think
All
folks
right.
are interested in this because a lot of people want to do what you've just done.
Yeah. And so I realized, okay, this is actually the first song that I've released as a solo artist myself, as Lid Shaw. So
Okay.
I have been in bands before, and I have music that's online. You know, it's on Spotify, multiple records that have been out, but never me, the artist. So this
Yeah.
time around, I was like, well, all right, how am I going to do it? You know, am I going to? I went over and made an account at DistroKid first, and I was learning how that works, and I was figuring out how to do it. But then I also had a connection with a buddy of mine that I went to college with years ago named Megan Gohill. And he's in Los Angeles with a studio called Hollywood Recording Studio. And
Yeah. Right.
so he had been our digital distribution label for our band music to put that out. And I started talking with him, and there you go. There's the link right there. Megan's probably joining us right now, or he might be listening. I think he said he was driving and he was going to listen in while we were doing this.
Nice.
Shout out to you, Meg. And so we had a chat, and then I decided to work with Megan directly to do it because he's just really good at, he's really good at what he does at putting the music out. But, he also brings that added level of, he's an incredibly organized dude, right? So he crosses all the T's and dots all the I's, make sure everything's done just right. And so that's been really helpful. But we decided that we were going to put it out through his label, Hollywood Recording Studio, and through his distribution company. And it still ends up in all the same places that it would have if I did it on DistroKid. But as we did that, we also said, let's take the lyric video. And I realized that spring happens twice a year.
There you go.
It happens right now for you guys down in Australia, down in the Southern Hemisphere. And I don't know, can you tell me all the other places in the Southern Hemisphere where it's spring right now? Do you know?
Yeah, well, Australia, New Zealand, right through the South Pacific, in I think South America and like the southern parts of Africa. I don't know. Some of them go with the American one of the 21st of the month for their reasons, but a lot of places. Basically, all the Commonwealth, all of us expat Brit type countries. Anyone in the Commonwealth, we all go spring 1 September if we're down south.
Right, and that kind of helps because you all speak English too, which
exactly
is
right.
The lyric of my song, right? So anyway, so here we are, and we put out the video. Our plan was to put it out today. So I looked at it, I said the 1st of September is the first day of spring. Yeah. Ironically, what was kind of funny about it is yesterday I went and Googled it, and I realized that I had already missed it. It was already the first day of spring by mid-afternoon yesterday in Australia. So thank you to all of you for joining us on the second.
The second, that's right. I must admit, I kind of work on 2 calendars, and a bit of behind the scenes. Before the show, I was freaking out because I looked at Nashua in like North Hampshire as the time zone. I'm like, Lidge, did I tell you like an hour wrong? Because I got the East Coast instead of Central Coast, and he's like, no. Like, oh yeah, I looked at Nashville, Nashua instead of Nashville. But yeah, I'm used to that because I talk in terms of that. I say, it's the 1st of September, and I do shows in the morning here like this, and I'll be like, hey, good evening everyone, because 80% of folks that watch these shows are in the US and Canada because of the time zones. So
it's the 2nd of September.
It is.
Wow, this is like a time warp, dude. It's the first right here. Hold on, I'm going to shout. Well, then we'd have to wait 24 hours to see if it shows up on your end. Never mind.
No, we always say that myself and the other Australian creators. We're like, we live in the future here. We'll tell you what it's like. We'll tell you what Friday's going to be like. So it's Friday today here for us. So end of the week. So there you go. If you want to feel good, come to Australia because you're always a day ahead, and it's always the weekend slightly earlier, which is cool.
I'm loving all these comments too. It's just what a great audience and crowd you've got here.
Absolutely, and I did want to reach out and say good day to some of the folks here. Yeah, Princess LGD says, yeah, curious about lyric videos. And look, you can do them yourself, but as Thomas says, they're quite tedious. But they are very good. I mean, when I've released songs with a lyric video versus with just like a static image, it's night and day. Like
Yeah.
people want something to watch. So much of music these days is the visual side on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and all the places I don't understand. Everyone wants to look at things as well as see them. It is very much a visual
Well, and
thing.
this particular one too, what's so cool about it is, however he does it, I'm sure he uses some automatic tool that helps do it, but it doodles out the image for each
Yes,
lyric, so it really was fitting. So I encourage
absolutely.
you to all go steal my idea, which is it wasn't even my idea, and go make a
Oh,
lyric video.
absolutely.
Just
Yeah.
go to the same guy, make one yourself. It's
See,
great.
look, yeah, how good does this look? And yeah, look, there's automated tools, there's manual ways to do it, but yeah, you're going to get yourself something like this. That's pretty darn cool. It looks amazing. So I won't
One
plenty
of the
more.
tools I looked at when I thought about doing it myself was Doodly. Do you know that one?
Yeah, I've seen that on, I think, an Instagram ad for that keeps popping up saying, hey, you
Yeah.
might want to try this out. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
idea if that'd be a good way to do it, but it seems like it does that kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. And as Thomas mentioned there, and I've shown him in the past that yeah, using LumaFusion, because we've got a lot of iOS people here, so they use LumaFusion for their editing, or even something like
Yeah.
iMovie. You can do a very simplified version of it, so maybe start with that. But what I love about that story, Lidge, is that what I always encourage people to say is that just because you can do it all yourself doesn't mean you always should. And reaching out to a community and the contacts and the networks that you already have in place. And look, not everyone's going to know people at, Grammy Award winning recording studios and absolutely internationally renowned mastering engineers like Ian, but you know other people and you can actually collaborate with other people and get ideas
Yeah.
from that. Or, like you say, Fiverr or there's Upwork and there's a whole bunch of these places where you can reach out and for as little as $5, or usually, you might pay 20 or 50 or something to get something of good quality. But you can just shop it around and you don't have to do everything yourself because you try to be a jack of all trades, end up being a master of none. And
Yeah.
that's a big risk I think a lot of us take when we're in the home studio because you can do it all yourself, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff there. Another thing with the video too is I had to think, well, where does the video go? Do I start a brand new, YouTube channel with my name as the artist? And I decided, you know what? I've already got a YouTube channel for the podcast.
Yeah.
It's related. So I'm just going to put it out on there. And I don't know if I can fully explain it, but the video release is done remarkably well. It's over 3,000 views and we just released it a day
You,
ago.
you hit that algorithm. You've got obviously a genius there with your contact there because
Yeah.
you've hit the algorithm well and you got a lot of people
Yeah.
enjoying it. And after this, I'm sure many folks watching here live or catching the replay will go and check it out as well. And I think it's inspirational to see what you can do. And look, not all of us have the decades of experience that Lidge has in the home studio. But you know what? If you go and listen to about 360 episodes of Recording Studio Rockstars, then you will be a rock star of the recording studio and you'll be able to create your best music as well. Because I think I took a lot of inspiration from Lidge, and I don't want to embarrass him too much here, but in the early days, I was starting out my YouTube channel, starting to learn how to create on iPad and iPhone and sort of differentiate myself. But I watched a lot of Lidge's stuff and listened to Recording Studio Rockstars. I can still remember walking around and just binge listening, and they're not short podcasts either. We're talking 2-3 hours a pop. So I was binging about 2 a day for weeks and months and just learning about, and again, I learned about all these people. So, I mean, I've had the opportunity to chat with Lidge and some of his cohorts as well, and with Ian Shepherd about mastering and just picking
Yeah.
the brains of some of these people. And I think as long as if you're enthusiastic and if you know what you're looking for, it's not about just going to people and saying, hey, you need to help me because I'm a struggling creator. But if you got something to offer or you've got something that you can chat to folks about, then that's a cool thing. And I know when we chatted, I was doing well in the YouTube side of things and you were doing amazingly well in the podcasting and marketing and affiliate side of things. And I'm like, hey, Lidge, how you doing all these things? And you're like, hey, Pete, how you getting subscribers on YouTube? So
Yeah.
you're always going to have something to offer other people, which I think is really cool.
And then when I think about releasing music too, I had built a network through music, through the
Mm.
podcast and through, my studio work and you building a YouTube channel. But, I think anybody can connect with other musicians, whatever level you're at in music. There's always somebody else out there who's at the same level
Mm.
and would be thrilled to connect with you, So if you can build up, even a network of other artists. You're doing that right here. I mean, song timber, that's what it's called, right? Song timber, right?
That's it. I know
Yeah,
it's a
great.
weird one.
Love
I've
it.
been saying it for 4 years. I could say it now in my sleep, but yeah, song timber.
It's great, but I mean, you're building a community, and
Mm.
take advantage of that. Take advantage of the community. Take advantage of YouTube, such an incredible resource for learning stuff, and podcasts as well. But learning how to use the tools, how to do stuff. Even what I just did with this particular song, it's very simple. The recording stuff I did. I think I did mic up the drum kit, and that's me playing all the instruments. But I'm no fancy drummer or anything like that. But the guitars, the electric guitars, that's just Amplitude 4. I just plugged I plugged an off-brand electric guitar into Amplitude and got a cool sound with a capo on it, and there you go.
And that's super cool, and it's good to hear that sort of thing, because I think one thing that happens, I think, when you're listening to podcasts or you're watching some of the the pros in their big studios with all the outboard gear, you can get a bit daunted and overwhelmed and say, I don't have that, or I can't afford to buy analog gear, and I can't afford to have outboard compressors and EQs and all the gear. But yeah, it's great to hear that someone like yourself, who has all that and has the experience and could have gone through all of this amazing gear, has gone, but why would you, when you can plug into an amp sim and get a really good tone, and then save yourself all the time and hassle? And anyone else can do that, can use a free bit of software. I love GarageBand, so you can use GarageBand, and they've got amp sims built in there, and you can use something like ToneBridge, which is free, or Amplitude, or Bias FX. All these things are super affordable and give you great tone. So there, go listen to Lidge's song, and then go, hey, I could create something exactly.
So yeah,
like
my first rule of thumb for doing any of this stuff is, do not let the studio get in your way. Like, do not let it mess you up. The only thing that's important is you and your song and your idea that's in your head. And my musical brain is very, very fragile. I'm like a tender, soap suds bubble floating in the air. And if I do anything to distract myself, it bursts and the idea is gone. So I have to be, when it comes to the song idea, the beginning stages, like, I have to look for every opportunity to keep it really, really simple and stay focused on the music.
Well, that is a great tip, and a great songwriter recording tip. So we are at the halfway point, folks. Make sure that if you do want to check out any of Lidge's resources, there's a heap of links down in the description. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast and check out all the videos. And a little teaser, you've been using another piece of kit that I've kind of been coveting, the Spire from Isotope.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that in a little while, but I'll give that as a teaser, because I just wanted to dive into songwriter recording. So as a songwriter, when you're recording yourself, and you talked about there having that focus and getting the studio out of the way, what other tips do you have for folks if you, as the songwriter, are sitting down and you're starting to record that song, or if you're doing your demo, or you're starting to record your first kind of rough draft of your song? What sort of things do you think that folks need to do or keep in mind?
I'm glad you started there, because I think it's often that people jump straight forward to sort of fancy stuff. And it's so crucial to start at the beginning and keep it really, really fun, keep it really, really inspired. So, one of the tips you use, just to reveal something, just before we did this live stream, sorry, something's making noise in the back there. I don't even know what it is, actually. But I was getting in my exercise, and I have a TV on, and I was watching your video that you just released today. And you shared a really great reminder tip on there, which was that, when you're working in iPhone and iPad and iOS, I don't remember if you said it would, I think even on the computer. So I have a Mac Mini M1 here. In that Mac world, if you record a voice memo, and I think you have it turned on for iCloud, it just shows up everywhere. So it's like you can switch from your phone to the studio, and that idea is going to show up where you need it, that kind of thing. So the built-in voice memo app is great. For years, I didn't like it as much. It seemed to get really good in the past 5 years or something like that, But I used to use another one called iTalk, which was kind of cool, because it had a really giant button, and you could press record and start, and then pause it and continue recording. But now you can do all that stuff in voice memo. Yeah. So any kind of built-in voice memo app is great for doing this kind of stuff, for capturing an idea really quickly. Um, the first thing I do now, if I pick up a guitar and I just want to sit down and like goof around for a second, I just put the voice memo and record. I just record the 15 minutes of goofing around
Yeah.
because you just don't know what you're going to stumble on. And I might stumble on an idea and then think I know what that idea is, but already change it accidentally by the time I try and grab the phone, back up, hit
Mm,
record again. And, the idea is super fragile for me. So I want to make sure I've got that. I'd rather be able to rewind and go hear that riff again and be like, oh, that's what that was. That was so cool. That had all the right
yeah.
feel to it. So voice memo is great. Another, well, let me see here. So I got some notes in front of me. I'm just going to go down through my notes. So another note
Do
I
it.
put there was when you've got voice memo ideas and you've got the instrumental part first. So maybe you're good. Like I'm guitar first and lyric second. Usually I usually have to work more on the lyric idea and come up with something. It's really easy. I can come up with musical ideas like that. I
Yeah.
can sketch out a cool song and have piles of that. And then I'll go back and like I can hear melodies. I can like phrase. I could do fake kind of vocal sounds that get me really inspired. But until I get those actual words in there and actually like start committing an idea, I'm sort of nowhere. I'm just still in that like gee, I wish I could write a song phase. So one tip is I find that I get really inspired in the car. So I love to
Yeah.
just play back those song memos and listen while I'm driving around, and I have lots of ideas, which is great. But then you're like, okay, I've got this idea, but there's no way to record the idea.
Yeah.
So one of my tips is it's not that uncommon to have a second old cell phone handy
Yeah.
or
Huh.
an old iPhone that you don't use anymore, the one that your kid doesn't use anymore, with the cracked screen. Have
iPod Touch.
keep a second one in the car because you can use that one. You can put that one into record, and then that
Hmm.
can be your sing over. So in other words, you're playing back
Perfect.
the guitar ideas through the car stereo, singing along and recording your new idea sketches, vocal sketches.
That is awesome. I do that exact same thing. I carry an iPod Touch with me as well on my phone. Just a little thing that's only got like 32 gig of RAM on here. But yeah, it's like an idea capture. But I've never thought of playing back through the car stereo and then recording. It's like
Yeah,
putting the two boom boxes
it's
next to
so
each other, like
easy,
we all did as kids. It's like the very simple multi-tracking, but capturing ideas.
So,
That
and
is
I
awesome.
I kind of learned that from our singer in our band. So Chris King, who's the singer in my band from St. Louis, we would we'd text him or send tapes of called guitar tapes. There'd just be a song idea,
Yep.
and then he's non-technical, so he would just play the cassette in the car stereo, play that guitar tape, and then he'd sing over it, and then he'd record himself singing on the iPhone or on a second cassette recorder.
Yeah.
And that's where that idea came from. And I realized that's a super brilliant way to do it. It's a little challenging because sometimes he'd send it back to us, and your guitar idea was so distant and buried that you're like, "What in that? What was I doing? I don't know what I was doing." But so that's a
Uh,
cool tip. Do that.
yeah.
You know, um, you definitely want to have some kind of notepad handy. So
Mm.
if you want to come up with your lyric ideas or keep notes on a song, um, whether you've got a pen and paper. Chris, again, he's a writer first, so he was always really great about having pencil and paper and some kind of gig book, he'd call it, with him all the
Yeah.
time. I was terrible with that. So for me, I had to sort of adopt the technology, and I would use the notes app in my
Mm.
iPhone. And one of the things I do now, which again comes from Chris, I kind of learned from him because he's a poet and he'd always capture these phrases and sayings that people were doing in his notebook, is I'll just keep a note pinned in the note app of iPhone, and it's
Yeah.
just one long running note of little lyric ideas. So whenever I hear somebody say something really cool, like Pete
Yeah.
John's rocks, I'd be like, wow, that's a good lyric idea right there. And then I would just like, open the note app, scroll down, put that in there, and then just forget about it, because I can come back later and look for weird phrases and, reminder ideas. So definitely keeping notes.
Yeah.
When you're capturing the guitar idea, let's say you come up with a cool guitar voicing and you really like it and you record it. One of the challenges is forgetting how you played it. So take advantage of the video app on your phone for that.
Mm.
So either take a photo of your hand on a chord or just like shoot a little video of you explaining to yourself what that was. I don't know how you keep that organized with the voice memo. I guess you could put them both into a note, if we're on a Mac, iPhone, for example. But using stuff like that. There is another really cool tool that helps with capturing ideas and organizing, and it's called Samply.app. And so this is a great web cloud-based. It's kind of like a Dropbox, kind of like a Box, but it does. It has a whole bunch of added level features that are way beyond those. So Samply will let you create a project. So you could have a project just called Song Ideas, and you can go get a free account right now. If you just go over here, I'll put it in the, maybe you want to throw up the link there. It's just Samply, SAMPLY.app.
There it is. Yeah.
And get yourself a free account because you can have a few projects in there for free to start out. And so you can make a project called Song Ideas. Then they have a record button in there. So you can actually record your idea directly into that, or you could record the voice memo and then just upload it afterwards to that when you like your song idea. And it has comments built into it. So it'll keep all kinds of comments in there, and you could go back and like write lyric ideas in the comment section as you're thinking of them and it'll timestamp them. So it could be like the verse 1 lyric ideas could actually be a comment that's right there at verse 1. And the chorus lyrics and stuff like that. And then it's shareable too. So you can share it with other people and have like a shared one with your bandmates, and that kind of stuff. And then the other cool thing about it is it has versions of the song. So if you re-record it now with some lyrics, you can upload that as a new version of the same song in there. So you've got layers of the different ones. And that way you've got your demo version, you got your song version, stuff like that.
Yeah,
so that's a great tool.
Cool.
And that comes in handy later too, because if you're doing what I like to do, which is work with your bandmates and your buddies to get into the studio later, it lets you guys have an organized project folder, and you can put up all the songs in there first, and then you can put the rough mixes in there later, and people can comment on it, and the other people can work with it that way.
Very cool. Yeah, but quite similar to BandLab. I don't know if you've played around with the BandLab app or website. And they were
no. You mean is BandLab? No, I haven't yet. No.
It's very cool. So BandLab, who now many folks will know, bought Cakewalk. So they've created the old Sonar and turned it into Cakewalk, which is free if you're on a PC. It's a great DAW. They have an online version of that's actually cross-platform. So you can use it on Android, iOS, Mac, PC. You can use it in your browser. It's a DAW. You can load it in Chrome. It's ridiculous, and it works quite well. And same sort of thing, you get that version control and you get that ability to collaborate and add your notes and things. So Samply looks like it's a little bit more streamlined version of that. But yeah, if you want a full featured DAW that you can use cross-platform, BandLab's another. And full disclosure, they have been a sponsor of this channel. And,
right on.
Previously sponsored this show, so I thought I'd throw that out there as well. But yeah, I'm definitely checking out Samply.app because that one looks like
and full disclosure, Samply is also an existing sponsor on my podcast. So there you go. That's the other fun thing about what we get to do, Pete, is we get to do, create these channels and then go look for stuff that we actually love and work with them for the shows, which is
absolutely
great.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned DistroKid before, and I used DistroKid for 2 years, and then I was chatting, and I was like, oh, this guy's from DistroKid, and they want to sponsor the channel. I'd love that. So and I know you do that a lot. All the sponsors that you use is actual gear and actual services that you use, because if you listen to your podcast and if you watch your videos, you know that that's the case. So very, very cool stuff there. We tapped your brain out, mate. Any other gold bits of
so Isotope Spire, let's go back to that one too. That is a really great one. So now Spire is I don't have it with me, but maybe if you feel like looking at the website, you'd see it. But my video's in there where I explain how to use it. But it's like 2 levels. So there's a free app that you can download on your phone on iPhone, and it's a multi-track recording app that lets you quickly put an idea in there for you can put a track down for the music. It's got click track built into it. It also has notes built into it. So on the particular song you're doing, you can actually have a notepad to put the lyrics in, which is really helpful for doing things like writing the lyrics, but even for singing the lyrics, you can be reading the notes while it's recording, reading your lyrics. It's multi-track so that you can add more tracks to it and build it out yourself. It has an incredible feature in there where if you are doing an overdub and you mess up, or let's say you're doing the lyrics and you've only written one phrase of the verse, you just stop the cursor right there at the next phrase of the verse, and you just hit the record button, and it automatically jumps back, rolls the pre-roll so that you know where you are, and drops you seamlessly into record and keeps going. So to me, that's huge, because that was always one of the biggest challenges with recording myself, was having to think too hard about setting it up before I even could record an idea. And this one is designed and built so that it like instantly lets you just go with your idea. So it's really, really handy. Another really great feature of it is you can take that song and you can hit the share button as a collaborator. So you can start the idea, and then I could send the song. The first time I used it, this is what we did with my band. I started an idea and I put a couple of instruments down, and then I just shared in a text message to the group of my friends. I might have sent it to one of the guys in the band first, but I sent it up, and then it went to the bass player, and then he played a bass part on it, because what they do, which is so clever, is they store the song in the cloud for like 7 days or something. This is all on the free app. Unless anything has changed with it, this still should be there. So so it's stored briefly so that then the bass player could download it, and now he's got a multi-track version of it. He put his bass on, he sent it over to the drummer, then the drummer downloaded it, put a drum track on, then he sent it over to the singer, and I started it in the morning, and by that night I had a finished mix texted back to me from the other members of the band, and I was able to listen to the song, and I was like, that sounds so cool. That was amazing. And this is for a group of us who live in different cities. We're all over the place. So like really, really cool that way. But what it also does, which is so cool, is I wish I had it right next to me, but the Spire Studio is a rechargeable, battery powered all-in-one recording studio hub, and it talks to the app. So you can either use the app for free, where you're just plugging your wired earbuds in. So you can't use wireless earbuds because of the delay,
Yeah.
So you want to plug in wired earbuds, or just plug headphones in and use the built-in mic. So you can record that way, but when you're ready to take it to the next level, you use that right there, which is the Spire Studio, and it talks to it, and now the app becomes a remote controller for that. And what's cool about the actual studio is that you can plug your headphones into it, listen on the headphones. It's got a built-in high quality mic that you see right there. It's got an automatic level setting, so you just press that button and play your instrument, and it sets the level, and then it uses all the like AI intelligence behind the scenes that Isotope's so good at, and it creates the level for you. It creates the EQ profile. It creates the compression and the saturation. It just basically makes your track sound really cool. And then you can record your idea. And what's great about the studio is that because it's all in one, there is zero latency in your headphones. So it sounds high quality. That's something that you're familiar with that when you're using an interface and trying to get the lowest latency. Or, you try and record on an app in the phone, and you kind of have to get used to that your voice sounds funny. But with the studio, your voice sounds crystal clear. It just sounds like you're in a real studio with no latency at all.
Man, we live in the future. It's quite ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, like, again, because there's so many different. So now I've got homework. I've got sampling to go check out. I've got to go and finally check out Spire. I think I've even downloaded it. I think we chatted maybe 2 years ago or 3 years, whenever you first got it, and I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. Like especially the auto gain setting, because how many people, like, you record it, you're like, oh man, this is really too low, and you turn it up and you get all the noise floor, or you get the digital clipping in there that you can never get rid of.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, just think about your gang here at Songtember. I'm learning how to say it. I'm learning. Songtember. You guys could use Spire, where any one of you starts a track and then just puts it in the group message, and somebody else picks it up and does the overdub and puts it back, and what an amazing opportunity for that.
I want to see it. I want to see folks collaborating with that. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Start sharing it. I'm sure you could share links and things in Discords and Facebook groups and
Yeah.
other places as
It's
well.
so
So
easy. It's so easy.
very very cool.
And
So
then the last bit is, so once you've,
mm,
even if you've recorded on the studio, as soon as you close the song, it's already synced it to the phone. So the song now lives on the phone. So you can do the
yeah,
mix in the phone with the little, you literally, if you want to pan something to the right, you just press the dot and scoot it over to the right. And if you want to make it louder, you press the dot and just scoot it up. You know, it's like, it's so intuitive. And then you just hit the share button and boom, there it is, you know, and
oh,
it'll, like, you
that's
know, master it. I mean, so I would use that for, I use that a lot now for, my initial song idea. So I'll demo out the song myself that way because it's so seamless and it's so fast and it's fun.
yeah,
And then I'll take that one, and then the next step is like, okay, now if you want to get it to studio level, because I've got a studio here,
yeah,
is I'll go through the process of, like, you know, starting a folder on Samply, and collaborating and sharing it with the rest of the people in the band, and then we'll schedule a weekend and come in, and, you know, and then we can talk about all that if you want to, but like the whole process of trying to have a really efficient session with all the
yeah.
bandmates and stuff like that, that's my
Oh,
favorite part.
that that is very cool. Yeah, and I think we're gonna have to have you back, Lidge, to talk about the record, because I mean I think this is what we wanted to focus in on, is tips for, and I think, you know, folks are gonna walk away with a bunch of tools and
Yeah.
tips and free things that you can actually use right now for Songtember. And yeah, maybe if you got some time next month, we can come back again
Yeah,
and
and
we
I
can
I
talk
got
about
more
that.
to say about this, so I don't know when we run out of time, but I got more about the just the sketching idea for you if
All right,
you.
we got 10 minutes, so I'm going to
Okay,
hand back
groovy.
to you and jump straight back in. I will listen and
All
let
right, so
everyone else know about.
I'm going to assume here for a moment that we're talking about a situation where you've got some sort of multi-track in your phone, because that's where I like to do it.
Yep.
Once I'm like, all right, now I'm trying to put the song down and trying to get the demo going, you know. So or maybe it's not the demo, maybe it's going to be the final thing. But the first rule of thumb is, don't worry about perfect. Don't let
Oh
perfect
yeah.
get in your way. Get something going, because I always find that you know, I'm lucky if I can find an hour window or a 2 hour window to work on this. And if I do
Yeah.
perfect, that hour runs out so fast.
Oh yeah.
And the next thing you know, I never get a chance to get back to it. And then it's boring, and you want to do something different next time and stuff like that. So I like to work really fast. So I'll get down an initial idea with the guitar. I'll try and get an outline really quickly. And then you know, if it comes to the lyric, I'll focus on the hook first, you know, the thing that you're thinking of, like the spring is an amazing thing, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of hook. And then build it out from there. Maybe only put that part in and don't even worry, put in dummy lyrics or something on either
Mm.
side of it. One of the projects that I do a lot with my friends is something called poetry scores, where if lyrics are a big challenge, go steal a poem, you know. I mean, you know, don't
Yeah.
infringe on somebody's copyright, but like borrow stuff, or ask for a poem from somebody else, you know,
Mm.
and use other lyrics, and then all of a sudden it makes it it's much more playful, and it's a fun way to compose something where you don't have to feel so personally attached to the meaning of the song where you're embarrassed about it. You can just like figure out how to like craft this thing. Um,
Yeah. That's
and
cool.
then I'll take, in that instance, I would take a poem. I'd have the song idea or the guitar down, take the poem, and I would look at it and I'd think about some of the words in there that I think are cool. And I hit record, and I would just sing like the first idea that came out, the first flow of ideas across those chords, unless you have no ideas. But I usually have ideas, you know. I usually have
Yeah.
like I probably have too many ideas, to be honest. But like I'll hear a melody in my head right in the moment. It's like you're improvising.
Yeah.
And one of the lessons I learned for myself is, don't second guess that. Like, trust that very first idea as a good one.
Yeah.
And so but it sounds terrible because I don't know how to say the words. I didn't do a very good job of singing it. So then I'll go in and I'll recraft that first idea. I'll go run with that melody and try and recraft it and rephrase the words and get that to work. And then even then, it still sounds stupid, because I know you all are familiar with this. I know you're all used to recording
Yeah.
something and then you play it back and you're like, oh, it sounds stupid.
Uh,
You know? So it still sounds stupid at that point. So here's my secret weapon. So the very first thing you do, but if you've got a melody and you've got the lyrics in place and you're like, but it should sound good. I just don't think I'm a good enough singer. Double it. That's the secret weapon. Immediately
Ah,
double it and get a good double on there. And then you're going to be, at least I'm always blown away. As soon as I play it back and there's a double, all of a sudden, that weird idea that you had, that weird word that you threw in there sounds cool now. And you listen back and
yeah.
you're like, whoa, that's like, now you feel like you're listening to somebody else that you think, wow, that person's really cool. I wish I was as cool as them. I know it
Oh,
sounds like
that's
such a
good.
basic tip, but it really works for me, you know?
I'm legitimately trying that. But you mentioned the video I did, and I sang my lead line, and it was lots of do do do's and da da da's at this stage because I don't know the words that I'm going to sing. But
Work
yeah,
for
I've
the
never.
police.
Uh, exactly right. Yeah, I am. I'm like, oh, I've never actually thought of. I always try to get fancy and add harmonies. Like, well, maybe it just needs a third or a fifth harmony on top, and then it will sound better. But I've never ever done that. And for folks, I know most of you will know what doubling is, but literally just recording the same part again on a separate
Yeah.
track, and then you've got
Yeah.
a double. And hey, again, it worked for the Beatles. The Beatles had doubled their
Yeah.
vocals. Dave Grohl, every single Foo Fighters
John
chorus was
Lennon
doubled.
hated doubling. That's why they
Oh,
created the automatic doubler, because
there
he
you
hated
go.
doubling his vocals, but they did it all the time, you know?
I did it and it sounds great. Well, there you go. Another free tip. See, Lynch is bringing the free tips. You don't have to go spend a fortune. Just
Now
double your voice.
doubling is a sound, so you may decide that in the end it's
Yeah.
not what you want. But I mean, for those of us who, like me, who feel like, I don't feel like I'm the one who has the super strong, naturally gifted singing voice. I feel like I'm the one who was always good at being a utility member of the band and singing harmonies on stuff while somebody else was up on the mic, singing. And doubling really helps my voice just sound much more intentional, much stronger.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, especially if you've got a vocal that's kind of thin. Yeah, I've found that it works a treat. And again, I probably learned it from you. I was probably listening to you and interviewing folks on Recording Studio Rock Stars and learnt the value and the power of a doubled vocal. And obviously, same thing goes for guitars. Same thing goes for anything that you've got that you want that thicker sound. Yeah, double it up. Just record it again.
And then this is another tip that I think would help everybody too. So if you're starting out, obviously, we're probably familiar with a click track because they just sort of built into GarageBand and stuff. You don't have to use a click track. You don't have to. I mean, when you come up with the song idea, you probably aren't listening to a click track, and then you got to record it, and now you are. And that can be really good depending on what you're going to do with the song later. But it can also be better to not use a click track for some songs and some kind of, especially for song demos when you want to just
Yeah.
keep the original intent of the idea of the song. And so in that case, it can be really helpful. And I feel like you were doing this on your video earlier today, Pete, which was, you're putting down a guide track where you're playing and singing, and you're
Mm.
like, I'm not going to use either of these because my voice is on the guitar, the guitar is on my voice mic, but I know I can get from the beginning to the end of the song
Yeah.
confidently this way. So you put that down as a guide track. You don't even need a click track
Yeah.
unless you're going to record drums later. So
Yeah.
you can put that down as your guide track and then go in and, if you played it steadily, but you don't like the way you're singing and your guitar is a little sloppy, but the timing is good, then you can go and play just a clean guitar along with that. And then you mute the guide track so you no longer hear it. And
Mm.
now, you've got this good sounding guitar, and now you can go in and sing on top of it and stuff. It's kind of,
Yeah.
again, that's kind of an obvious thing, but until you realize that you have permission to do it, in
Mm.
such a simple way, you might not realize that can really, really help you get to where you want with it. Because otherwise, you've got the song idea, and now you're like, all right, ready, set, go, and you try and play guitar. Even you did it on your video too, Pete. You were like, you start playing, and you're like, crash and
Yep.
burn on the first bar. You know,
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly. You get that red light fever, and then suddenly, with the smooth, buttery song that you had when you were recording it to the voice memos, where there was no pressure, suddenly you're like, "Oh, I got to start right now, right on this
yeah.
one beat." And then if you miss it or you play the wrong chord, you're like, "Oh no, I messed up." So yeah, no, I've got to definitely do a little more. I think I get too on the grid too soon in some of my songs, and you're right that some of the best songs are the ones that sit in the pocket, and they might just sort of ebb and flow a little bit. Of course, you need a very talented and forgiving drummer. Or someone that's going to
Right,
program
right.
your drums. If you're going off the grid, it does make drum programming and some other things quite difficult. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be more for like, like an Elliott Smith, just
yeah.
guitar and voice kind of thing. You know,
Absolutely. It does work well.
I
Matt,
bet he didn't use a lot of click tracks. I bet he hated
I,
click tracks.
yeah, I can imagine that there was no click tracks with Elias. Great,
But
great
if you
thinker,
want to
great
do
thinker.
drums, then become one with the click.
Become one with the click. Absolutely. Mate, I knew that this would happen. I knew that we would fly by and we would chat for an hour and I'd want to chat for another 7 hours. But we do like to keep this show to an hour because you know, folks have got things to do and we wanted to cram as many cool tips into this show as possible. But I'm hoping, you know, I'll make you commit. You coming back, mate? Can we
Yeah, I'll
have you
come
back
back.
in a month or two?
Princess, I mean, I see Princess has got questions and there's probably other questions too. So, and I'd love to answer them all. So let's just come
Yeah.
back and do another one.
Let's do that. Let's have a Lidge Q&A after the end of Songtember. Once you've got all your songs out there and you're all ready to go and learn more, we'll get Lidge back on the show and maybe we'll do a bit of a longer Q&A kind of session so that
Yeah.
we can
Princess was asking about background vocals. So maybe
yeah,
we
let's
can
give it.
we can start with that next time, you know?
Absolutely. We know exactly where we need to start for the next show. Lidge, it's always a pleasure. You are a wealth of knowledge and you are a stand-up dude. And there's so many places that people can go and check out. Check out all the NAMM videos. We didn't even touch on that. I meant to talk to you about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But you talked to a whole bunch of people over at NAMM, which if you don't know about is like the National Association of Music Manufacturers.
Music merchandisers, I think,
Merchandisers. There you
or
go.
manufacturers, one of the two.
Something like that. So you can go and check out all of those videos. Right now, live is that we've got Mike over at Creative Source, and I know you know Mike. You've been on a show with Mike and myself before. He's got a live premiere coming up right now. I'm going to throw that right there in the chat so that folks can get over there. He's doing his Fix My Mix, talking about gains versus faders versus volume, all that confusing stuff, and I'm sure he's going to enlighten us all on all of that stuff. Any final parting words or things you'd like to let our wonderful community here know, Lidge?
I mean, I just thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to be here. I feel incredibly honored to be putting my music out this year and having people enjoy it and listen to it. And, you know, just to be transparent, I feel like a total imposter myself. So, you know, I just said, Lidge, you just got to do it. Just put the music out there and make it happen. And it's working. So my reminder to all of you is just go through the steps, you know, and it's going to work. You know, and you're going to look back on it and think, wow, how did I get to this point where like I've got a bunch of music out and people are enjoying it and they know who I am and all that kind of stuff. And it's through that process of putting it out there. And also, if you find you're at that point where you're already recording stuff and you're already making some music, but you're just trying to figure out some of the basic of how to take a mix from sounding demo to professional, I've got a free resource for you to help you with your mixing in your home studio too. And you can get that at mixmasterbundle.com. And it's there you go, right there. So we can drop the link in for that too. And that's some videos where I just show you how to mix in your home studio and get a pro sound.
Definitely worth checking out all of the stuff that Lidge has over at recordingstudiorockstars.com, mixmasterbundle.com for that one, and check out the new video. Like as soon as you go watch Mike's show, but then bookmark that one. It's linked down in the description. Go and watch the lyric video because it looks amazing. It sounds amazing. Congratulations, Lidge. You keep going from strength to strength, my friend, and it's great to have you here on the channel again. On behalf of my wonderful guest, Lidge Shaw, as we say at the end of every show, please this week be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, keep creating. And we'll see you next time on The Creator.